It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Tuesday, March 17th. That means it's St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Sun and clouds today for those parade goers. Going to be cold, though, the high 42. Tonight and overnight, partly cloudy, low 28. And then Wednesday, partly cloudy, high 40. If you're walking out the door with us right now, 39 partly cloudy in New Rochelle up in Westchester County. 39 and partly cloudy in Spring Lake over in New Jersey. And it's 37 and partly cloudy right outside our Midtown studios.
This is the Top 5 at 5.
Overnight storms do some serious damage. A Queens neighborhood in mourning after a fire kills a family. The shelling continues day 18 of the war in Iran. A Brooklyn man behind bars for a crime he did not commit wakes up free today. And Aaron Go Bra, it is St. Patrick's Day. All right, let's get into it at 5:01. Let's talk about what happened overnight. You may have a little bit of a rough commute, and Joe Nolan will be up in just a few minutes to tell you exactly. But I can tell you from my way in this morning, trash cans all over the place, trees, branches down from overnight storms again. Hundreds of flights, LaGuardia, Kennedy, Newark airports were canceled last night. So if you're somebody thinking about flying today for sure, you should check in if you haven't already to see if it's going to take off. All across the tri-state, flights were either delayed or canceled, not just from the weather here in the tri-state, but there's storms going through the Midwest. That's causing problem. 8,000 flights nationwide were canceled, and that was just by early evening last night. It went down from there. Some blizzard, thunderstorms, threats of tornadoes across the country grounded people last night. And most people, they were taking it in because they knew they were going to have problems just with the TSA because those workers are being paid. Some of them are not showing up. But then add that weather problem into it, and it made for just a messy time, especially at Newark, LaGuardia, and Kennedy last night.
We are flying out of LaGuardia tomorrow at 12:30. Fingers crossed.
You can't control the weather, so I can only hope and pray.
I'm trying to figure it out. Yeah,
so, and compounding that, of course, is the partial government shutdown. 60,000 TSA workers now working without pay. We'll get into more of their story coming up in just a moment or two. 5:02. 4 dead, including a child, 2 others in critical condition following that Monday afternoon fire in Queens. We got more details about this last night. It broke out about 12:30 in an apartment building in Flushing at the corner of Avery and College Point Avenues. Eyewitnesses reporting they saw several people jump from windows.
The lady and the boy, you see, and so the lady crying, my baby.
The building had businesses on the first floor, was completely engulfed in flames when firefighters arrived at the scene yesterday. FDNY says 2 residents have critical injuries while 4 are stable. Part of the building collapsed as they were fighting this thing, including in an internal staircase that trapped 2 firefighters for a short period of time.
We were able to extricate those members, and we give an additional signal called a 1066 to get more resources here to the scene. As all that is happening, other members are performing CPR on the victims in the street.
FDNY says 5 firefighters were hurt, but those injuries were minor. The cause of the fire, that's still under investigation.
I've never seen anything like this. I'm just very thankful for all the first responders to get here so fast and to get this under control.
Yeah, that's one of the neighbors. In an update last night, NYPD telling us 3 people, 44-year-old, 59-year-old, and a 67-year-old. They're in stable condition at Jacobi Hospital. They were rescued from this fire. 4 more victims, a 33-year-old, a 39-year-old, a 40-year-old, and a 51-year-old. They're in stable condition at New York Presbyterian in Queens. And again, the cause of the fire, that still remains under investigation today. 5:04, over to New Jersey, where there was tragedy in East Orange involving a New Jersey transit bus. bus.
The Essex County prosecutor says a woman was crushed to death by the bus at about 6 a.m. at the intersection of Freeway Drive East and Evergreen Place. It was making a right turn when it hit 30-year-old Eva Malcolm, dragging her body under the bus. First responders were able to pull the Newark woman out, but she did not survive. The bus driver stayed at the scene. Authorities are investigating. I'm Sarah Lee Kessler.
Why do they keep messing with the 9/11 healthcare funding program in Washington? It's just sort of unbelievable. This continues. They have to fight for it. But local lawmakers demanding answers from the Trump administration after report that workers at the 9/11 healthcare funding program have been reassigned to duties with ICE. That includes putting some 9/11 workers doing immigration enforcement duties.
It would be bad enough if they just reduced the number. That would be horrible enough. But to put them into ICE, a renegade agency that's out of control, desperately needs to be reined in and reformed, is a double whammy.
Okay, no surprise. That's from Senator Schumer, which he calls it a disgrace. But you have Republicans in on this as well. Long Island Republican Congressman Nick LaLotas also says he wants answers to what he says is staffing shortages and delays at the World Trade Center health program. The Department of Homeland Security denies that 9/11 workers have been reassigned to ICE. Okay, on a much happier note, today is the 265th edition of the St. Patrick's Day Parade. It's scheduled to kick off 11 o'clock this morning. It'll run until 3 p.m. The parade will begin 5th Avenue and 44th Street, and it goes uptown. I think it's the only parade that goes uptown to 5th Avenue at 79th Street. And there will be somebody in the St. Patrick's Day Parade this morning who may not be so welcome.
There had been some question as to whether Mayor Mamdani would join the parade. The Catholic League said it wasn't sure after Mamdani skipped the installation of Archbishop Ronald Hicks. And during the campaign, Mamdani said he'd likely miss a lot of parades. Monday, Mamdani said not only that he'd be in the parade marching alongside Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch, but that he's also hosting a St. Patrick's Day breakfast at Gracie Mansion. In New York, I'm Andrew Whitman.
All right, that should be awfully interesting on the parade route this morning. WABC News Time 5:08. We are getting reports of loud explosions in the Iranian capital of Tehran this morning. Israeli jets have carried out 2 raids in southern Lebanon against Hezbollah targets. That was overnight into this morning, and heavy shelling was heard in pockets of southern Lebanon. President Trump suggesting Iran's new supreme leader may be dead. The president claims Iran's leadership may be gone completely. He talked about this last night at an event at the Kennedy Center.
They're all gone. My biggest problem is I have no idea who we're talking to because nobody ever heard of any of these people. They're all dead.
So Mojtaba Khamenei took power earlier this month after his father was killed in the U.S.-Israeli airstrikes. At the Kennedy Center last night, the president said that the younger Khamenei is either badly disfigured and has lost a leg or potentially is just not around at all anymore.
They have no leadership. The leadership is gone. But then they set up a new leadership to go and name a new leader, and that leadership is gone. And now they think maybe the sun is gone.
And yesterday, President Trump talking about the fact that he wants more countries to help protect the Strait of Hormuz. He says he's not happy that some countries are not enthusiastic about helping out.
I said, for 40 years we're protecting you, and you don't want to get involved in something that is very minor. Very few shots going to be taken because they don't have many shots left.
Now, Iran has attacked tankers through this vital waterway where about 1/5 of the world's oil passes through, which has led to that surge you've seen at the gas pump.
Many ships have been sunk. They're war-fighting ships, but I guess they didn't know how to use them. And anti-aircraft is decimated, their radar is gone, and their leaders are gone. Other than that, they're doing quite well.
Yeah, okay. The Trump says the U.S. has damaged Iran's ability to defend the Strait of Hormuz.
We're hammering their capacity to threaten commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz with more than 30 mine-laying ships destroyed.
Now, in Iran today, they say at least 12,000 housing units just in Tehran alone have sustained partial or total damage in the ongoing U.S.-Israeli attacks, which continue today. President Trump's Energy Secretary, meanwhile, addressing the war in Iran and the effect on oil prices. No doubt you've noticed that your gas has gone a whole lot higher. Chris Wright ordered the restart of offshore oil drilling off the coast of California to help out a little bit.
Bringing on a meaningful amount of oil production in the state of California.
He says the goal is to address supply disruption risks.
California has fought foolishly to prevent new American oil to go into their own state.
He says the new oil supply, he says, will make sure the West Coast military installations have reliable energy and to military readiness.
We said enough is enough, and we've got new oil production coming on in California.
Yeah, so Wright says the restart of that offshore drilling in California, he says, will bring meaningful amount of oil production, at least to California anyway. Top U.S. intelligence and security officials, they're going to go before the House this week to discuss threats that are facing the U.S. amid this war in Iran.
They had been set to testify on Tuesday, but now that's been rescheduled for this Thursday. The House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence will be hearing from Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, FBI Director Kash Patel, CIA Director John Ratcliffe, and others. They're due to discuss foreign threats, cyber attacks, and terrorism. The hearing comes amid the U.S. war with Iran and several recent attacks in the U.S. being investigated as possible acts of terrorism. I'm Mark Nephew.
Now, amid this war in Iran, the president saying yesterday he thinks he may want to postpone his upcoming trip to China so he can navigate what's going on with the war back here.
We've requested that we delay it a month or so, and I'm looking forward to being with him. We have a very good relationship, but because of the war, there's no tricks to it either. I'd love to, but because of the war, I want to be here. I have to be here, I feel.
Now, this comes after U.S. and Chinese trade officials, they wrapped up 2 days of high-level talks in Paris. Correspondent Ross Cullen reports that after the meetings, the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told reporters the two countries continue to have a pretty stable relationship.
The top Chinese negotiator Li Cheng'an, however, criticized the U.S.'s recent investigations into potential unfair business practices by a range of countries, including China, although he also added that both sides agreed to the stability of tariff levels.
Now, what we were told, these meetings went pretty well. The talks were meant to pave the way for this planned summit between President Trump and President Xi, but now, as you heard, is likely postponed.
The talks have now concluded here in the French capital, and after the negotiations, both sides spoke to the media. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said that Washington and Beijing have a stable relationship, and the United States did not want to decouple from China.
Now, we don't have a new date of when that meeting will take place in China. 5:14, those long lines continue at the nation's airports, with Republicans pointing towards the partial government shutdown, blaming Democrats for the TSA nightmare at some airports. Senator John Cornyn, he was at Austin's airport in Texas yesterday delivering a message to TSA workers who now, their first paycheck 2 weeks ago, they got 30% of the pay, and this most recent paycheck last Friday, they got zero.
Democrats have refused to fund the Department of Homeland Security at a time of heightened danger.
He says there should be no compromise when it comes to funding DHS, and he warns without paychecks, TSA agents will make desperate moves to earn money elsewhere.
It's an absolute disgrace. They've taken the wrong hostage.
Okay, that might not working, but the senator saying the long lines at the security are the Democrats' fault. Meanwhile, 10 airline CEOs asking Congress to pay TSA workers during the partial government shutdown because it's making it miserable for these flyers.
TSA officers remain on the job, but so far more than 300 have quit, and hundreds are calling out because of the fact that they need to work a second job just to make ends meet to put food on the table.
That's correspondent Tom Costello.
TSA officers start at $35,000 to $45,000 a year. A member of Congress starts at $174,000 a year. So right now, with many TSA officers struggling just to make ends meet and wondering when will they be made whole, it's coming as we are in this real heavy spring break travel season.
Yeah, so you shouldn't be shocked to hear that so many of them looking for other jobs today. In a moment, we'll head over to Utah, where a mom accused of poisoning her own husband finds out her fate. We'll get into that in just a moment. But first, 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Good morning, Justin Ellick.
Good morning to you, Noam Layden. Start on the hardwood out here in Brooklyn. Nets lost 114-95 to the Trail Blazers. Nick Claxton at 12-10 for the shorthanded Nets, who've lost 4 consecutive games in 14 of 16. Leading scorer Michael Porter Jr. Missed his 3rd straight game, and Noah Clowney was held out. Up next for Brooklyn, they'll host the OKC Thunder tomorrow. Knicks, they're back at it tonight at home at the Garden. They'll welcome in the Indiana Pacers for a 7:30 p.m. tip-off. Head to college basketball here. Look ahead to today's first four action ahead of the round of 64 getting going Thursday and Friday in the NCAA tournament. 6:40 p.m. tonight. It's UMB versus Howard for the 16 seed. That's in the Midwest region. And later on tonight, it's 9:15 p.m. tip-off for Texas and NC State. That's for the 11 seed. And that's in your West region. Head to the NFL. The Jets traded quarterback Justin Fields to the Kansas City Chiefs yesterday in exchange for a 2027 sixth-round pick. This coming after the Jets last week acquired quarterback Geno Smith in a trade with the Las Vegas Raiders to be their new starter in 2026. To facilitate the trade, the Jets are paying $7 million of Fields' $10 million 2026 guaranteed salary. Kansas City will pay the remaining $3 million. To the World Baseball Classic, final from Miami, Venezuela doubling up Italy 4-2 in your second semifinal last night. And so your championship game is set for tonight in Miami, 8 p.m. first pitch, the United States against Venezuela for your World Baseball Classic championship. Obviously rooting for the big USA.
Are you going to bet on this game? Or?
I don't know. Baseball's a little weird to bet on for me, at least, because like anything can happen in baseball, especially in these types of games where you have rosters like this. So I don't know, but it'll be fun to watch, definitely. First hour.
Will you bet in on those play-in NCAA games?
No.
Okay.
I have no idea what these teams are, what they do, or where they even, conduct their business.
Okay.
Other than, like, Texas and NC State, that's just in the name,
Right.
And on the ice last night, the Devils beating the Bruins 4-3, Nome, and the Rangers losing to the Kings 4-1. Tonight, the Islanders return to action up in Toronto against the Maple Leafs. That is a 7 p.m. puck drop there. That is your Sports Now, man. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time, 5:20. Head over to Utah, where a mom accused of poisoning and killing her husband set to be sentenced in May after she was found guilty on all charges yesterday. The jury only deliberated for just a couple hours before reaching a verdict in the Corey Richins case. Judge Richard Mrazek read the result.
Count 1, aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Corey Richins, is guilty of aggravated murder.
Now, apparently she poisoned him to collect on a life insurance policy. Jeez, you can't make this stuff up. He labeled her, the judge, a black widow.
The homicide was committed for pecuniary gain, and the homicide was committed by means of the administration of any substance administered in a lethal amount, dosage, or quantity.
Now, during this case, they tried to say that the mom was a good person, but they say the jury and prosecutors were able to relay otherwise.
And despite all the evidence, Corey Richins clings to the facade that has enabled her to get away with so much for so long. And despite all the evidence, Corey Richins doubles down. She is intensely ambitious. See through her facade, check her ambition. Do not let her get away with murder.
Now we'll wait and see how many years she gets behind bars when she's sentenced in May. 521 repairs underway at Temple Israel in West Bloomfield, Michigan. That was the place where a would-be terrorist rammed his pickup truck into the synagogue last week before killing himself. Members of the Jewish community have been coming to this building to see how they can help out or just counsel people who saw what took place.
We built this crisis response team years ago, kind of like building a fire truck, hoping you never have to use the fire truck. And oh my gosh, we've had to use it over and over and over again.
Yeah, so of course people just thankful that nobody was seriously injured. That security guard who really stopped everything from happening in the hospital, but going to be okay.
The turnout's been really well. A lot of people have visited, which means they're getting the resources that they need. And so it's been steady, I would say, since Saturday.
Now, 522, President Trump says his chief of staff, Susie Wiles, is an amazing fighter after announcing that she's in a battle with breast cancer.
Trump revealed Wiles was diagnosed with early-stage breast cancer. With Wiles seated next to him at a Trump Kennedy Center board meeting at the White House, the president said Wiles has already begun treatment and her prognosis is excellent. She is the first woman in U.S. history to serve as White House Chief of Staff. I'm Monica Nelson.
Okay, so you heard there's snow in Albany from Joe, which is, God, thank God we're not getting that. There's snow in the Midwest, a lot of it, one of the biggest snowstorms they've seen in years. And out west, it's a heat wave hitting California that could set records for March, also could create long-term problems.
There's concern about the damage that could come to California from a heat wave starting to hit the state this week. California has seen a bunch of rain this winter, so fire danger, not much of a concern right now, but this week's heat could start to dry out a lot of the growth that has come with the rain, increasing the fire danger as we head toward the summer. Also, the state's snowpack is only about 45% of where it should be, and state officials worry that the high temps will melt a lot of that. I'm Jason Nathanson.
523, President Trump appointing Vice President J.D. Vance to lead his benefits fraud task force. It's part of the Trump administration's nationwide war on fraud.
As an example, you've been seeing it, and seeing it pretty big in Minnesota, $19 billion. But that's only for one little aspect of the fraud.
President Trump says fraud happens in red and blue states, but he thinks it's happening more in Democrat-led states. Again, calling out the Somali community, as he just did there in Minneapolis, and Congresswoman Ilhan Omar.
This is not a Republican-Democrat thing. This is wherever it's taking place. It seems that it's usually in blue states. If it's in a red state, we're going there too. If we found half of the fraud that's taking place in this country, and I think you have a chance of doing that, we would have much more than a balanced budget. That's the kind of numbers you're talking about. The theft is incredible.
The president saying he'll go anywhere to stop that fraud. Speaking of fraud, a funeral home owner at the center of one of the most disturbing cases in the funeral industry now knows her fate.
Carrie Halford was sentenced to 18 years in federal prison after pleading guilty to wire fraud. Prosecutors had recommended 15 years in prison. Carrie and John Halford were first charged with 15 federal crimes after stockpiling nearly 200 bodies in Penrose. They also fraudulently used COVID relief funds on personal luxury items. They were first arrested 3 years ago. John Halford got 20 years in prison. He was sentenced last year. I'm Kathy Walker.
California, several of those states going to sue the Trump administration now for trying to weaken rules that they say protect people from housing discrimination, including LGBTQ plus people.
Families across California are already struggling to find homes they can afford. And the last thing they need is for the federal government to make it harder.
California Attorney General Rob Bonta there. The lawsuit follows a recent change from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development that threatens to cut funding to states that protect groups not specifically covered by the federal law. Discrimination for marginalized groups seeking housing. And that's what these attorney generals are going after.
Under this guidance, states like California could lose millions in federal funding if we continue enforcing these broader protections under state law. The federal government could also stop referring discrimination complaints to the California Civil Rights Department.
526, the NBA's Board of Governors could vote next week on whether to consider expansion by 2 new teams.
It's expected the teams could be Seattle and Las Vegas, but that vote wouldn't happen until later. 23 of 30 NBA owners would have to approve the vote for the process to move forward. The league would identify potential owners, and then another vote would be held to determine whether expansion would actually happen. If it does, the teams would start in the 2028 season. I'm Brad Ford.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour. Talking the news with Noam Laden. All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now, Talking the News with Noam on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Tuesday, March 17th. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Sun and clouds today for those parade goers. On the chilly side, outside. The high's going to be 42, but no rain, so that's good. Tonight and overnight, partly cloudy, low 28, and then Wednesday, partly cloudy, high 40. If you're walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are. 39, partly cloudy in New Rochelle. Up in Westchester, it's 38 and partly cloudy in Spring Lake over in New Jersey. And it's 37 and partly cloudy right outside our Midtown studios. WABC News Time 540. You're going to want to layer up if you're coming into the city for the parade today. It's going to be cold. I mean, not freezing, but in the low 40s. It's the 265th edition of the popular, beloved St. Patrick's Day Parade. Kicks off 11 a.m., goes till 3 p.m., begins 5th Avenue, 44th Street, goes uptown, ends at 5th Avenue and 79th Street. One surprise for many people who might be going to the parade today is Mayor Mamdani says he will march with Police Commissioner Tisch and an NYPD contingent, so you'll see him along the route. No matter where you go today, there will be celebrations up on McLean Avenue, that's up in Yonkers, also sometimes known as the Emerald Mile. They'll be celebrating St. Patrick's Day as well. Rory Dolan, he's the owner of Rory Dolan's, which is this famed restaurant and bar, Irish pub up there, says they'll have plenty of Irish cuisine and, of course, your favorite Irish drinks.
Connecticut, Long Island, New Jersey, Manhattan. We've been here 33 years. It'll be predominantly corned beef and cabbage. Also, we're going to have fish and chips, shepherd's pie, chicken pot pie, beef stew.
I love that he's owned that place for years and he still has that brogue. I could listen to that all day. Those who are celebrating should, he says, do so responsibly, of course. But at the end of the day, he wants everybody to have a good time who shows up at his pub anyway.
I think we've become the first time. Come tomorrow and it's 30 years. We St. Patrick's Day. We have people who have celebrated St. Patrick's Day here for 30 years. We have people who will come tomorrow and it's going to be their first time. So I think we've become pretty good at showing what St. Patrick's Day is all about.
Yeah, so the Yonkers St. Patrick's Day Parade, they do it after the one here in the city, and that'll take place Saturday, 1 o'clock in Yonkers. 542. The man accused of throwing a punch that may or may not have killed a man on a Penn Station subway platform over the weekend has been released.
Nasir Tate was arrested Sunday and charged with assault. The 21-year-old aspiring model was released Monday with a ticket to appear in court next month. Tate got into an argument with a 55-year-old man from Brooklyn Saturday night after the man bumped into Tate. Police are waiting on the medical examiner's office to issue a cause of the man's death. Their ruling could lead to more serious charges. Tate posted to social media about it, writing, "No, I was not the reason of his death." In New York, I'm Andrew Whitman.
The popular retail and grocery delivery app company Instacart facing a lot of backlash. Remember that report revealed it was secretly using consumer data to charge some customers more than others for the exact same items. Well, now State Attorney General Letitia James and top Democratic lawmakers want to take on those companies using algorithms and personal data to set those individualized prices for groceries, medicines, diapers, things like that, with a ban on a practice that's known as surveillance pricing.
Instacart's pricing experiments resulted in some shoppers being charged up to 23% more for grocery items for the exact same item from the exact same store at the exact same time. For a family of four, that could mean paying more than $1,200 a year just to be a lab rat for Instacart.
Now, the probe prompted an apology and a rollback, I should point out, from Instacart. But now James and top New York lawmakers want to ban the practice through a package of proposed bills.
How much do you pay for a subscription to a streaming service or to a magazine? How much might you pay for any product you buy online? All of this consumer data that is very particular to you, they're using to figure out how high a price they can charge you.
So one bill would bar the algorithms, require a disclosure detailing how prices are set. The other says brick and mortar stores can't use digital price tags, able to change from time a shopper takes an item off the shelf to when they pay at the register.
I call it predatory pricing, and it is time for us to take action against this dishonest practice as New Yorkers continue to endure an affordability crisis.
Walmart announced earlier this month that it's expanding digital price tags to all of its U.S. stores this year. These electronic shelf labels allow retail giants to change the price of groceries in the blink of an eye.
Okay, now I will point out the stores who use this digital pricing pushing back against this notion, saying, yes, they're just as fed up with high prices for everyday essentials as everybody else. But they say these digital price tags, they can collect information on a consumer and give them discounts. In other words, they show up if it's a consumer they know and they have information about, they can give them targeted coupons and loyalty rewards to help families afford groceries and other basics. And they say that the Attorney General should take that into mind when they're proposing these new bills. All right, in a moment, we'll tell you about a Brooklyn man who spent 2 decades behind bars for a crime he did not commit. He's out free today. We'll get his story. But first, 5:45, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. And here's Justin Ellick.
Thank you, Noah Maladen. We'll start out here in Brooklyn. The Nets lost 114-95 to the Portland Trail Blazers. Up next for them, they'll host the OKC Thunder tomorrow. Knicks back at it tonight at home at the Garden. They'll welcome the Indiana Pacers for a 7:30 p.m. tip-off. College basketball, first 4 action gets going today. 6:40 p.m. tip-off between UMB and Howard for the remaining 16 seed in the Midwest region. And 9:15 p.m. tip-off tonight for Texas and NC State for the lone 11 seed remaining in the West region. Head to the NFL. The Jets traded quarterback Justin Fields to the Kansas City Chiefs yesterday in exchange for a 2027 6th-round pick. This coming after the Jets last week acquired quarterback Geno Smith in a trade with the Las Vegas Raiders to be their new starter in 2026. And to facilitate the trade, the Jets are paying $7 million of Fields' $10 million 2026 guaranteed salary. Kansas City will pay the remaining $3 million there. World Baseball Classic action. Your final from Miami. Venezuela beating Italy 4-2 in that last semifinal last night. So now your championship game is set for tonight in Miami. Venezuela against the United States for the 2026 World Baseball Classic crown. Of course, we'll be wearing our stars and stripes. Final in overtime from New Jersey on the ice last night. Devils beat the Bruins 4-3, and at MSG, the Rangers got worked by the Kings 4-1. Tonight, the Islanders, they'll be back at it up in Toronto against the Maple Leafs. That's a 7 p.m. puck drop there. That is your Sports Now, man. I'm Justin Ollick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:48. There's lots of people behind bars who say they did not commit the crime they were sent to prison for, and a Brooklyn man was one of those. He spent nearly 2 decades in prison for a 2005 robbery in Crown Heights that he did not commit, had his conviction vacated yesterday after prosecutors say new evidence show he never should have been found guilty. 61-year-old Kenneth Winley was convicted of robbing a 70-year-old man and cashing a stolen money order linked to the crime. Now, Winley had long maintained he was innocent and that he unknowingly bought the money order from 2 men who lied to him about where it came from. Well, he wasn't lying. He was telling the truth. So yesterday, prosecutors said, no, this guy should have never been behind bars.
In each case, they followed elderly men leaving various financial offices to their apartment buildings and robbed them of their money and property. CRU concluded that if this evidence had been presented at trial, it would have resulted in a more favorable verdict for Mr. Winley.
So Winley hugged family members after that judge decided that the case should be vacated, and his attorneys after the ruling, and he said the moment was completely overwhelming for him.
So great, overcome this. Feel excellent. They cost me 20 years. But they said they corrected him now, so that's all that matters. Not bitter, so I'm just going to move on from there.
Yeah, I don't know how you can be bitter. I would be very bitter. His attorneys not ruling out the possibility of a civil lawsuit, of course, saying there was process failures in the original case.
This is a cautionary tale about making sure that the presumption of innocence is not just simply something we say, but something we believe in. This case should have never happened.
Winley saying his first priority after walking out of the courtroom yesterday was simple. He planned to go get a meal of seafood. 5:50. Governor Hochul calling on the federal government to do something to provide relief at the gas pump for New York.
And New Yorkers deserve leaders who understand that what families are up against. You know that when prices go up, when gas goes up, everything gets more difficult.
Yeah, so gas prices, of course, have skyrocketed since the U.S.-Israel attack on Iran. And in New York State, the average gallon of regular is up 62 cents since the war started.
Hardworking people, like the ones in these great communities, are the ones footing the bills for chaos they did not create.
Now, the state could help out by lowering the gas tax, but so far that has not been offered up. Mayor Mamdani issuing an executive order yesterday that lowers the speed limit in all eligible school zones to 15 miles per hour now.
This encompasses every one of the 3,200 schools citywide across the 5 boroughs.
Now, the city has been transitioning slowly to a slower speed limit near schools under Sammy's Law. At a news conference yesterday, the mayor said this will boost the total of 15-mile-per-hour school zones to 1,300 by the end of the year.
We are going to reduce the speed limit to 15 miles per hour outside all eligible 2,300 school zones. Our DOT is working to slow vehicles and improve pedestrian safety around the most dangerous locations near schools by upgrading intersection design and incorporating speed bumps so every child can get to class safely. No longer will the lives of pedestrians and children playing outside be treated as an afterthought.
Yeah, I don't think anybody has an argument with that. 552 misdemeanor charges for the driver that's accused in the death of the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel actress Winnie Alton Davis.
Bronx resident Abdul Shamouz was issued a desk appearance ticket. The 62-year-old doctor is charged with failure to yield. He faces both a fine of up to $250 and up to 30 days in prison. Police say Shamouz's black Cadillac hit Davis, whose real name was Wendy Davis, as Davis crossed Broadway at West 53rd in December. Davis, who played a cop in Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, died from head injuries. She was 60 years old. In New York, I'm Andrew Whitman.
553. Over the weekend, the city says they filled about 7,000 potholes during a blitz. The effort to fill the potholes comes, of course, after the winter featured some record snowfall, prolonged sub-freezing temperatures that have created these craters no matter where you go across the city. So 7,000, that's not shabby for a weekend.
I get like a 3 times flat tire for the pothole. Yesterday, I think what happened, when it was happening, and last Sunday, it was happy again. There was a lot of pothole in the city. Yeah, if you guys can do something, we'll be happy.
Yeah, okay, so since January 1, the DOT tells us they've repaired 50,000 potholes. They say the average response time is about 2 days. So but people you have to tell people, then when you see a pothole. I mean, I know I don't. I'll go through the pothole and then curse them out, but I never call them or 311. But if you do, they say within 48 hours, that pothole will be fixed. So they're expecting to resurface some roadway as well, not just potholes.
I don't know if it's from the weather or whatever they're using on the ground. But they need to do something about it.
You got to pay attention more to the city. We paying taxes. Some people paying road taxes. You got to give us what we need if you want what you want.
Okay, we have seen most days when it's not raining or, awful out, these pothole patrols usually go out right after rush hour all across the city. So, again, to report those potholes, which I have failed to do, I just curse them out, you can call 311 and they say they will be repaired within 48 hours. Did you see at the Academy Awards, I don't know if you watch them, but Michael B. Jordan, it was the first time he was ever up for Best Actor in a movie, and he won at Sunday night's Academy Awards. And this resonated in such a big way at his alma mater, Arts High School in Newark. He's a Newark kid, and the kids at his high school say his win gives them hope.
And the Oscar goes to Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah. The celebration was loud in Los Angeles, but maybe even louder at his old Newark High School. Students celebrated Monday, with some speaking about dreaming of someday standing on an Oscar stage just like Michael B. Jordan did.
For him being another kid from Newark is proving once again that everything is possible.
I know that's right. I knew he was going to do it.
When his first Oscar, his first nomination too, that's just that's 10 times more impressive.
Yeah, so Jordan, who graduated from Arts High back in 2005, captured the Oscar for actor in a leading role for his portrayal of twin brothers Smoke and Stack in the smash hit Sinners. I haven't seen this, but everybody tells me he's incredible in this movie.
I'm about to go to the class that Michael B. Jordan was. I'm about to talk to the teacher that Michael B. Jordan has talked to and got taught by. It it allowed me to push you like, man, I can't give up now.
Yeah, very inspirational. The theater teacher who taught him, Carl Gonzalez, he taught Jordan as a junior and a senior, has been at the school for 24 years. He said he had every part of his body crossed on Sunday night. He said he was ecstatic when Adrian Brody announced that Jordan had won.
I was looking for his reaction, and it was lovely when he looked at his mom, and his mom was like, yes, you've won. Yes, it's your dream came true.
Yeah, so dream big. That was his message afterwards. And I imagine he'll stop by the high school because he still has a connection with it. And students there say they can't wait to see him in person. And again, say it's all very inspirational.
He represents us. And if he's not ashamed to be from Newark and to be from Arts High, why would we be?
Yeah. A good moment for the school and for Michael B. Jordan.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?